Okay, today is April 15th, 2020.
Oh, yes.
We're home during the coronavirus,
Yeah.
trying to fill in time. So I thought it might be a good idea to hear a little bit of history on David's military service. So if he could tell us when he started, when he went in, what was happening at that time, and
Well,
go ahead.
when I went in the war, first I graduated from high school.
When was that?
In June of 1943. And then I had to sign up for the draft on July the 9th. And I was called up, my brother and I both, since I'm a twin or what, yeah. And we were called up to Akron for our physical. And both passed the physical, thrilled to have done so. And then went home, went to work at Republic Steel
Doing what?
In the lab, the Met lab.
Were your parents both working there at that time?
No, just my father was working there.
As what?
He was in Canton as a superintendent of the #2 bar finish. And
he was what?
Pardon?
His job was a
superintendent of #2 bar finish.
Okay.
In Canton.
He was a metallurgist, right?
Oh, he was a metallurgist. Had always worked, not always, but since the First World War, when he was an examiner for the Army Air Corps, Army Air Force, which was the initial thing before the one thing they called it the Army Air Corps. And then I was working in Massillon, Central States Republic Steel. There's a nice picture of our commode in the background. You might close the door.
Okay, I'll do that. Keep going.
And then I was called up to report. As I say, I passed the physical. My brother and I both passed the physical. Of course, you didn't have to be very superior body, although we had taken courses in high school, swimming underwater, and because of threat of going overseas and being torpedoed, we would swim underwater for 50 yards, and finally got very good at that. Come up at the end of 50 yards and splash and make the burning oil go away, supposedly. And anyway, so I went to Columbus, Ohio, Fort Hayes, I think.
In Columbus.
In Columbus.
When was this?
In October 19th, I think it was October 19th. Took the train down from Massillon with a bunch of other people, a bunch of other men.
Anyone locally?
Oh, yes, all local. None that I knew. Maybe one I knew, but I don't remember his name. And my brother and I both went down there. And
At the same time.
Same time. And
Then from there you.
then from there we were assigned to Fort Benning. No, yes, Fort Benning, Georgia.
How long were you in Columbus? Just for a day or two?
About 2 days, 2 or 3 days. Taking tests and getting shots and uniforms and things like that. And
did you choose what?
No, assigned to the Army. And I don't believe anything else was chosen. And
you took tests there.
Pardon?
Did you take your test in Columbus or when you got to Fort Benning?
Fort Benning. We took more tests.
Okay.
Took IQ tests and things like that. And got some more shots. Took about 24 hours to get to Georgia on the train because the train would go forward 50 miles and back 20 miles and then forward again and so forth. Back and forth.
Why is that?
I don't know. No one knew.
Okay.
We were crowded on the trains, and all in fresh new uniform. Felt very military. We thought we were Army. Well, we weren't, but we thought we were. We got to Fort Columbus, Georgia. Went from Columbus, Ohio to Columbus, Georgia. And went to Camp McCain, to the Camp Hill. I think it's called Camp.
You were at Benning, and then from Benning you went to...
No, Camp Hill was just a section of tents, pyramidal tents. I think there were about 20 guys in a tent. Maybe not that many. Double-decker bunks, and a pot-belly stove in the middle. And, of course, this was in October, so it was cool. And we'd have that stove red hot. The pipe going out was red hot for about 4 or 5 feet going up to the roof. Wonder it didn't set the tent on fire. And we took more tests. And they assigned us to infantry basic in the ASTP, Army Specialized Training Program. And we had...
That was both you and Dick?
Oh, both. Yeah, in fact, our whole tent.
Oh.
Our whole tent. And in fact, our whole company, 7 company of, I think the 4th regiment of something. And we were trained, I think, 17 weeks. Very good infantry training. We walked out to first carrying we were issued a weapon and more clothing and so forth, and more equipment. And then we were issued a canteen and so forth, and a trench knife and a shovel and this and that, as we needed later. And we walked, and a knapsack. We called him knapsack. And then we, what did we do then? Then we would walk. I remember the first time we walked out to the amphitheater. It was a small amphitheater for our company. That was not only for our company, but we used it. And where it had lectures. And then we also had a bunch of PT. And we do that for every morning at, I think, we get up at 7 or 6. And it was nice weather most of the time.
At this time, you were where?
In Georgia, in Fort Benning.
Okay.
At Camp. No, I didn't Camp Hill. It'll come to me a little bit, okay. Maybe. And then when we went out to those to this amphitheater the first time, we almost thought we wouldn't make it, and because it was maybe 2 miles out there to the camp, to the where we had the lecture. And you want all this detail?
Why didn't you think you'd make it?
What?
Why didn't you think you'd make it?
Because it was so far, and we were carrying
2 miles?
2 miles was pretty far.
Oh, did you run?
No, we marched carrying a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay. Which was probably 70 pounds of stuff, or?
Probably, maybe 40 pounds.
Okay.
I don't know. But then first we had the PT and so forth, and more shots, and then we got issued, incidentally, we were issued dog tags and things like that as well. And we had to learn our rifle number, which I don't remember now because I had several over the course of the war. And given a serial number, 359174441 is my number, which I'll never forget. I can't remember my Social Security number, but I can remember my 359174441.
You had to say that every time?
Every time we... No, we just say the 7441 and your first name when they call you off, when they wanted to make sure if it was you. So the answer was David 7441, and they would check you off as being present.
So... you were there with training for ASTP for how many weeks?
17 weeks.
Okay.
And then we would march. And not march. We learned close order drill. Very good. Got pretty good at it. Our platoon. I forget. I think I was in the 4th platoon. No, the 3rd platoon. In Camp Fort Benning. The difference between a camp and a fort is a permanent Army facility. A camp is a temporary facility built just for the war. And let's see.
You had a graduation then after that?
Well, yes, but first we learned to hike. We hike, and we would take finally taking 20-mile hikes and thought nothing of it after a bit. I mean, just we got to the point where we'd see that place where we thought we weren't going to make it. The first time we went out there, just that was, oh my goodness, we're done. We called that home, and then we still had 2 miles to go. But then we got a 30-mile hike, 35-mile hike, and this and that. And it became very easy. The only one that was a little difficult was we had water rationing one hike in the daytime, and it was very hot in Mississippi. And we went on this 25-mile hike, and they had L5s, little airplanes, small tail-dragging airplanes, would throw bags of flour at us, bombs they call them. And everybody had to learn to leave the road and go find some place to hide and so forth. And let's see, where else? Oh yes, we also had, I remember one particular hike was rather difficult. It was a double-time hike for 4 miles, and meaning we did 4 miles in 50 minutes. And actually, we did that hike in 45 minutes. And everybody thought, oh boy, that's good. And the guy in charge says, nope, these men aren't fit for combat. Do it again and do it right. And we had to go around again.
You did it too fast.
Did it too fast the first time. All right, then we were all set to go to college. I was assigned to Wisconsin University. That's what the ASTP was. The war was thought to going to last 8 years. And because we hadn't won many battles. The Japs came and did Pearl Harbor and took almost half the Pacific, all the Philippines and all the islands and so forth. And Hitler had already taken what became the EU later. It was a different war and a difficult war.
So the ASTP, they were going to use you for what reason? Why
we're going to be engineers.
Okay. That's what you were training for, is to be engineers.
That's what thought we were going to train for. And we were...
And officers?
And I believe officers, second lieutenants. And anyway, we were all packed, raring to go. And on the radio that night...
We were on the train?
No, we were in camp yet.
All right.
And on the radio that night, we heard the ASTP has been closed because of this was in the next year, 1944, in, I think, May or June. No. Yeah, in June, I think it was. In other words, D-Day in Europe had come at June 6th, and the casualties were pretty high, and they thought they were going to run out of casualties. No, that wasn't in 44. That was in 40. Yeah, early 44. And yes, it was. No, it was before the invasion. But they anticipated a lot of casualties and were going to run out. So they disbanded the program and used us as we're going to use us all as infantrymen, and which was a good thing because we had we were very well trained infantry, and
You weren't already on the train?
no, not yet.
Okay.
And we had graduated from basic, I think, and had a week's furlough, first furlough in I forget when that was.
That was after 12 weeks training?
17 weeks.
Oh, it's after that point.
Yeah, good infantry training and rifle range and all that. It was a cold winter, and as I said, in Georgia, and we would get that pipe red hot, cherry red.
So,
Apparently, there's some confusion. I'm in
you were in Fort Benning,
Fort Benning.
and then you were from there. You were supposed to go to Wisconsin, and that was canceled.
Yeah, that was canceled. No, then I got furlough for a week.
Okay.
Came home.
Oh, you came back here.
Yes.
Okay.
Came back in
To
Massillon
Ohio.
to my home. Saw my mother and dad and my girlfriend, and then went back to Mississippi. Mississippi.
From there to Mississippi instead of Fort Benning.
Yes, because the program was canceled. The
Okay.
ASTP program, Army Specialized Training Program, was canceled.
Okay.
And from there, we were assigned to the 94th Division, Infantry Division, which was depleted because they had taken a lot of men out of there for replacements. And the cadre was left and some of the men. But they needed probably 60 men or 70 of us guys to get them back up to strength, to full strength. And so I was assigned to the 4th Platoon of F Company, 302nd Infantry Regiment, 94th Division. And 4th Platoon is it's a rifle company, but it's a weapons platoon of the rifle company.
Is that D companies?
F Company.
F.
F, like Frank.
Okay.
Fox, we called it.
Okay.
And in the 2nd Battalion. And
You were assigned
I was assigned to a mortar section
originally?
As a ammo bearer. And we trained in the mortar and learned to fire the mortar as an emergency.
And Dick was where?
In the machine gun section of the same. Well, first I was assigned to A Company 376, and I transferred to F Company 302nd.
How'd you get to do that?
I don't know. I just don't know how that happened, except I applied for it. And I was accepted and did that. And they accepted that. And so I went into the mortar section. We have 3 mortars in our section. And
what size?
60 millimeter mortars,
Okay.
rifle company mortars. Nice little mortar, smaller mortar.
How far were they?
We fire maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles. And you had different ways to make them fire. You could fire them very short, up close. You could fire them 10 yards in front of yourself if you were careful. I mean, if you held it just right. But anyway, because it would go up and then down. And the advantage of the mortar is it'll go over a hill and go over houses and things like that into squares in a town. And let's see what else. Anyway, we trained and trained.
Where was this?
In Fort Benning, Fort.
Oh, you're still there. Okay.
No, we're in Camp McCain.
Okay.
Camp McCain, 94th Infantry Division.
Camp McCain, Mississippi.
Yes.
Okay.
Learned to know these guys, the new guys. I was, I think, the only new man in that squad. And we had Sergeant Hook Hartong was a very good man. Very, in fact, a guy I really learned to like. And he was killed a little later in the war in Europe, but
was he married?
Married, yes. And
what did you call him?
Called him Sergeant Hook.
Oh, okay.
Or Sergeant or Hook.
Okay.
It got to be Hook.
Okay, you had nicknames for some of them.
Oh, we had nicknames for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone had a nickname. At the end of the war, or toward the end of the war, we got a guy we called Fat Cheeks. He was just a boy that was just out of high school and was put in our section as a replacement, and he was still had his baby fat on him. Big guy, farmer, nice boy. And let's see. Well,
so you're talking about Hook, was your
Hook, yeah. And Joe W. Lawson, was the second gunner, and Kyle Gower was the first gunner, and Joe was the second gunner, and I was
Papa Gower?
Papa Heinen.
Oh yeah, okay.
Was in the 3rd squad. We have 5 men in the squad. The squad leader, the first gunner, the second gunner, and 2 ammo bearers. And we would carry the ammo bearers would just go along, and right behind them, the gun. One guy would carry the gun, another base plate, and the 2 ammo bearers would carry, and a rifle, a carbine. We would carry a 30 millimeter carbine. And wait a minute, let's stop a minute.
All right, David, I'm going to ask you. You were an ammo bearer. How much ammo did you carry, and how big were these?
They were about that long.
Okay, and weighing how much each?
About 3 pounds each.
Okay.
And we carried 16. There are two. Mike Kamenescu was his name.
Okay.
Was the other ammo bearer.
Okay.
And we also carried a M1 carbine.
Okay. And each of you carried 16
rounds. So we had 32 rounds to the gun.
Okay.
And where are we now?
Well, I was asking you how you were supplied, and you didn't know how it.
No, I don't know because we never
ran out.
Never ran out.
That's always good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, where are we though?
You're in Mississippi.
Oh.
Fort Benning. So you trained there?
No, not Fort Benning.
I'm sorry. Camp Benning.
Camp Benning.
Okay. And you trained there for a couple months?
I think maybe about 2 months.
Okay.
Went to Chicago once on a train, which we had a pass to Memphis, Dick and my brother and I. And we went to Chicago, and my dad met us there in the car.
He worked there sometimes?
No, yeah, sometimes he worked there. And he drove out there, and he and my mother and my girlfriend. And
which was Helen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's see.
They
we
drove
were
out
there. Yeah, we saw them about 2 days, and had a time getting back. We got into a very nice train going up with a place to sleep and everything. But on the way back, we had to find a different way back. And it was funny. We got into Memphis and we pulled into the station, and there were all the cars going north. We were going south to the camp, and the division has been pulling out. And because they were all 94th guys with patches on, 94th Division.
Which was yours?
Our division, yes.
And they were going the other way?
They were going the other way.
Oh, boy.
Fortunately, it was a different regiment. We got back and about 5:30 in the morning and got back into camp about 10 minutes of 6. And we had to be there by 6. So it was good. But very good. And then that was in probably late July. Yeah. Late July. And then we got on up to Camp Shanks and got a pass to New York for an evening pass.
After you just got back from Chicago?
Well, yeah, yes.
Wow, okay.
And
what'd you do in New York?
Well, Joe, my brother and I and Joe went, Joe W. Lawson, who was my real buddy. I was his real buddy. He was an old man. He was about 25 years old. And I was
18.
No, I was 19 then. And
and you went to a Broadway
show, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And Joe stood at about the first half. And then we had to leave because he was going to go get drunk. And I didn't drink much. And Joe, he was looking for a different thing, not just entertainment. Anyway, that was an aside. Anyway, we got on the Queen Elizabeth I.
After coming back
Camp Shanks.
Okay.
And
then you got on the QE1.
Queen Elizabeth I.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, that was at what time of year?
Probably July. Yes, July
Okay, 1944.
1944. In other words, a month after the invasion. And
Of
what? Of Europe. Yeah.
okay.
The big invasion.
Okay.
And landed on Utah Beach. And then.
Well, tell them about your. Did you have a ride over that was?
Oh, yeah.
Wild?
It wasn't wild, but it was we went over unescorted because supposedly we were faster than the submarines and weren't going to become torpedoed. And we weren't, but there was not much concern. Incidentally, I saw George Howells, a friend of mine from across the street in Massillon, Ohio, on the boat. He was also a ASTP guy transferred into 94th Division. And where was I going with that?
Okay, you were heading across the seas.
Oh, yeah, and yes.
Was it rough or?
Oh, it wasn't. I don't know. We were having. It was so crowded. We had, I think, 17,000 men on a boat. It was designed for 3,000, and if meals, 2 meals a day, mostly mutton, which I didn't like. Nobody liked mutton that I know of, and everybody was complaining about it. But the poor Brits hadn't anything good to eat for years. They were starving, and they got food for home and fed us with their food. Excuse me. Anyway, we got to a little town, and we landed in Greenock, Scotland. Took a train down to near Bath on the west coast of Britain, on the Irish Sea, near the Irish Sea, and to a little town called what's the name of that?
Castlecombe?
Castlecombe.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What?
Beautiful.
Beautiful little town of Castlecombe. And in tents we lived, and I got everybody had to do duties while we're there. We're there, I think, about a week, and we.
Is this where you went out someplace to listen to?
Yeah, to listen to at night. We went out one evening to listen to rifle fire, machine gun fire, and German weapons, and the difference between the German and the American weapon is quite important to know.
You could tell the difference.
Yeah, you could, and you could tell what it was because of that. The German machine gun fired very fast compared to our machine guns, and they could change a barrel in a minute, where ours didn't ever get, well, very rarely was changed because it was slow firing.
Didn't get as hot?
Didn't get as hot, except the heavy machine gun, which was water cooled. We didn't have water cooled. We had 2 machine guns in our company and 3 mortars. And then we went from there over to...
Did you learn to identify aircraft also?
We had learned at it in Benning.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, in Benning we had learned that. And then we went down to, I think, Southampton.
To stay?
No, to board a vessel to go across into the channel, and into on to France.
So when you left Castlecombe, your training was done.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We weren't there to train. We were there to gather for going over to France.
Okay.
And everyone was very excited, a little nervous, and but we landed nicely.
So Utah Beach is where you landed, and D-Day.
That happened 94 days earlier.
Okay.
94 days.
Okay.
So we had a very good start. I mean, they
So
had
Dunkirk was already
Dunkirk was way past
over and all
a
that.
year or so ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or 2 years maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, the Brits were at war for 6 years and 1 day.
So you came into Utah.
Yeah, coming into Utah was, we had gone over
Beach.
on the beach. We had gone over on a sort of a good sized ship, went over the side of the boat with these cargo nets down the thing into ICU. Landing, no, not ICU. Landing Craft Infantry, LCU.
LCI.
LCI. Landing Craft Infantry, and landed on one of these mulberries, I think, which is a big thing that the British had made and took over and had sunk and made a harbor, a pier. And
So you unloaded on this pier.
yeah, and then marched ashore. No firing on us, and
What was the weather like when you came in?
weather wasn't bad.
Warm, cold?
Sort of warm. Was August.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's September, early September,
Okay.
and
then did you join with?
then we marched into Saint Mary Église. Saw these.
Is that where they show that the guy that came down on a parachute and
Yes.
got caught on the steeple or
Yes,
something?
it is. But we didn't. I didn't see that guy.
Yeah, of course. I hope he wasn't up there yet.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
But we marched in there about 8 miles, I think, into there, and then boarded some 6x6s.
What was the biggest problem marching in there?
Nothing.
No, you didn't have any.
Well, we didn't have our weapons yet.
Oh.
I mean, our mortars
Oh, wow.
or machine guns.
But you had your.
Oh yeah, our personal
Carbines.
weapons we had, and so forth, but no ammo either.
Oh.
So it was a good, easy march, about 8 miles, and
My. How long did it take till you got your weapons and ammo?
well, it took a week or so, I think.
Gee.
Yeah, some didn't get them that soon. Anyway, we got on these 2.5-ton trucks and went to along the coast, Saint Nazaire and Lorient. The division had I think a 20-mile front that we were supposed to guard and there were 100,000 Germans in Brest and Lorient and Saint Nazaire from submarines, pens, and so forth, and the army to protect them. And we were there until I think about the middle after Christmas, and then things got tough there in the after the Bulge. The Saint Nazaire area and Lorient area wasn't bad. I mean, we have a few casualties, but not many.
But by then you had your ammo and your weapons.
Oh yeah, we had our stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was it you were in France and you went into a...
That's in France.
When you went into that pool hall or something.
Oh, well, that was...
that time? Or
yes, that was that time. Yeah, my brother and I, again, walked into town to Blaine, Blain, about 2 miles, to had a pass to take a bath. Hadn't had a bath in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and
weeks, okay.
Went to a bar. We had gone there once before, I think a month or so ago, and ordered something and went to take a bath and came back, and the thing was gone. The Germans would fire a heavy cannon, I think about a 240 millimeter cannon, about 3 times a day, and it hit this thing and it just left a big hole. And the waitress and the barkeeper and his wife were all gone, everybody. In that bar, and so we didn't have that to drink, but
it was a good thing you went and took a bath.
Yeah, it was a good thing we went and took a bath. We would have been blown up and couldn't even find any dog tags, maybe, but that'd be difficult. Then, as I say, we had a few casualties in that area, and we'd go on there online meaning be on guard duty about 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then get a pass to go to town and so forth. And then we were there until, I think, after Christmas.
What did you do Christmas? Is this
nothing? Oh yeah, we had. We were there Thanksgiving.
I was say Thanksgiving. Was that when everybody got sick? Or?
Yeah, everyone got ill at Thanksgiving. They had Ike had ordered everyone online would get a turkey dinner, and we did. And everybody the next morning, oh, it was terrible. Had GIs. And all night long, people had been having problems. It was a real mess in the morning because you could tell where they'd been in the night. And in the yard, because everybody could take a shovel and dig a little hole and use it. And that's enough of that, I guess.
Then you had Christmas.
Yeah, I don't remember anything special about Christmas.
Okay.
And maybe we were en route then. I think maybe we were en route on...
would think.
big cattle, great huge travel, great huge trailers, maybe 50, 60 men in the trailer standing up. And we drove all that way in the snow and
To where?
to Thionville, southern France, southeastern France, which is along the Saarland. We went and replaced some of the people that had gone up to Bastogne, I think, to keep the Germans at bay there. And we started.
Is this when you were part of Patton's army?
Yes, and we were always part of Patton's army,
Okay.
but I mean, not always, but we were in Europe.
Okay.
And he didn't even have an army until August of that year.
Okay.
He had been relieved of command because he had slapped those two guys. It was crazy. He didn't even get in on the planning of the invasion. If he had, he'd probably known about the hedgerow country, which we were working in, all hedgerows, and you go 100 yards, and that was a new war on the other side of that hedgerow, and so forth. So anyway, on the way to Thionville in southeastern France, it was very cold, very nasty. Weather was bad, raining and snowing, and
This is one of the worst winters, wasn't it?
yeah, one of the worst winters in 50 years in Europe that year, they say.
How are you clothed for that?
Well, we just had on our regular ODs. We had ODs, but no overcoats or anything.
Boots?
No boots. Well, yes, we maybe had some overshoes. Yes,
Oh, that's right.
we had overshoes.
But they were just rubber
Yeah, rubber
galoshes, like.
galoshes is what they were. Yeah, exactly. And
Do you have gloves?
yes, we had gloves. Yeah.
Extra pair of socks?
Well, we had them in our bag, but our bags were always 10 miles behind us.
Okay.
And
Wasn't one of your crazy requirements is to
well, that was Patton's rule, but we never had any opportunity to do that because we didn't have them. So you can't change your socks if you don't have them. And because we were getting a lot of trench foot later in the war. And that was a rule that came later, probably in the end of, maybe in February.
So by the time this point came about, you guys weren't getting your supplies very well.
No, we weren't. We were only getting 4 rounds of artillery a day for a gun, per gun, which is not anything. I mean, it takes 2 or 3 rounds to get in on target. And so you don't fire the guns much, the big guns much. And it was sort of tough, very tough. And we'd have people killed now and then. And one day when we went after Sins, a town called Sins,
S-I-N-Z, right?
Yes, SINZ.
And where was that?
In Germany.
Okay.
And we had, I think we had first gone to taken Bootsdorf and Tettingen, which was right through the Dragon's Teeth on the line, on the Siegfried Schwitz line of the, what do you call that?
The Siegfried line?
Siegfried line. Yeah. But it was a special strength down near Trier on the Moselle, near the Moselle. But it was going sort of north to south instead of east to west. Now, wait a minute. They were all going north to south. This was going east to west. And let's see. One day we had, when we were going to Sins, we went, it was a bad day. We had a bad day. Hook was killed on this side of the huge field, about 1,000 yards across.
Is this where we went? In that cemetery?
No, that was Bootsdorf.
Okay.
And anyway, my friend Hook, Sergeant Hook, and Gower, the first gunner, were both killed different places on that day. And so was Heinen and Richards and
So these were the older men in your company, right?
original men. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, Hook was.
25-year-olds.
Well, no, Joe Lawson was the old man.
Oh,
I think Hook was only maybe 22
okay.
when I was
19.
19. But it was funny. You thought everybody was. We had one guy that was 28. We called him Grandpa. Everybody called him Grandpa because he was so old. And yeah. Well, that's enough of that, I guess. And bad day.
So you're talking about January of 45?
I think January or either the end of January. Yeah, it must have been January. It was January.
Yeah. Is that the worst day of the one day?
Yeah, it was for my platoon.
Because you lost how many? It wasn't just
5 out of the 15 in my section, which is a pretty good number. And we lost a lot of infantrymen that day. Now, I didn't know the infantrymen. The riflemen. We were all infantry, but the riflemen.
They were Dick's group?
Dicks weren't hit a bit. They got by very well. I don't think they ever had a wounded person, which is amazing. We fired our mortars more than they fired their machine gun, more rounds. Because the section sergeant, the guy in charge of both guns, didn't want to draw fire, I believe.
Oh.
Anyway, I became the first gunner then, and Joe and I spent that day in the same hole when everybody got hit about. And Heinen and Richards were maybe 20 feet away from us. And Clarence, CR 3434. Clarence R. He'd answer every time he was called. 3434. It must have been his end of his serial number. And he was a real nice man. He wouldn't hurt a fly, I don't think. But he normally. And anyway, he didn't have a chance.
So you and Joe were in the same foxhole.
Yeah. And Gower was probably Clarence and Heinen were in behind us about 20 feet, and I think Gower was maybe 20 feet in front of us. And there was also this sort of a I don't know what it was called, something made out of logs, like a shelter.
Were these ones that were left over from
the
Germans?
Yeah, these were German holes. Joe and I were in, and everybody was in, so they knew exactly where we were, and well, it was a bad day. Well, anyway, now what do you want to know?
From there you went where? Or did you stay overnight, or were you there a couple days? Or?
Oh yeah, then we that afternoon, our mortar section was pulled out
to
a little town called Wosheren, and our company was down to about 30%, or I don't know.
Even less than that, I thought.
What?
I thought it was even less than that.
No, I think they're about, maybe there were 50, 60 guys.
And you originally had how many?
187.
And you're down to 50 or 60, and was that also counting replacements?
Oh yeah, we got new replacements all along.
So, your original was even less than that.
Oh yeah, original. Yeah, I don't think there were many originals that weren't wounded or killed. But maybe 40 of us. My brother and I were 2 of them, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Now what do you want to know?
Of the couple veterans that I've met, Norman and
George.
George
Morris.
Where was he? He was in the rifle company?
No, he was in mortar section too.
Oh, other one.
Huh?
The other mortar section? I mean, didn't you have 2 mortar?
Yeah, 3 mortars.
Okay.
And he was, I think, became the, I don't. What now?
Okay, David, when we last talked, I think it was April 15th. Here it is today, May 18th.
Yeah.
So a lot has happened in the last month. We're still
under
this coronavirus stuff, but we're getting out of it. In fact, Saturday night on the... That
was 16th, yeah.
16th of May, we had our Getting Tired of Corona dinner, and we had all your kids here.
Except Fred.
And a couple of the grandkids, Caroline and Steve, were here, and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had dinner together and had a good time.
Yeah, very good.
And let's see, what else happened in that last month? We had...
I don't know.
Kate just had her birthday, 26th birthday on Sunday. Mom passed away on May 2nd.
Yep.
Reagan just got out of the hospital with a DKA, and she came through that well.
What is that DK? Diabetic ketosis, acidosis. Very dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
And something else happened, and as you can see, we still haven't got our hair cut.
No. Tomorrow night I'm going to tomorrow evening.
We can now get haircuts. So yeah. David has an appointment for tomorrow night, so he'll look better. But I thought this is a chance to do a little bit more of his history. And so last we heard you were going to Wosheren.
Yeah.
And that was kind of off on a break of some kind, or? Well,
we weren't useful. We were pretty well destroyed, our section.
Okay.
And because we lost 5 or 6 guys killed, and Lefty had his big toe shot off, or blown off. And, well, we all had pretty well beat up.
So you're kind of gathering together and reforming your groups?
Yeah, I don't know.
Getting replacements?
Well, we didn't get any replacements for a while.
Okay.
But then we went, I think we pulled off of the Sins attack then. And everybody went back to Wosheren. And then we went to Nome, I think.
Was Dick there also?
No, he was online yet.
Okay.
And
was he at that Sins?
Yes, he was. And his group was fine, and nobody was injured or anything. It was good.
Was your group in that? Remember when we visited and there was that little cemetery that?
Well, no, that's where we started from.
Okay, and then you went across that field?
Yeah.
And there was the woods back there.
Yes, then we went up a hill with the woods in the field, and that's where we stopped. That was probably a quarter mile or half mile across that field. Almost got killed there because 120 mortars were coming in. We had about 2 feet of snow. And I think that's what saved my life, because it only landed about 15 yards away, and it had a 50-yard kill radius, and anyway, we got across the field, went up the hill, and they stopped us. And so that's when we were bogged down there for an hour or 2 or 3. Being shelled. We went over and got Clarence out of the hole. He was dead without any marks on him, I don't think. I think the concussion must have gotten him. And Heinen had his leg, I think it was his right leg, stripped of all the meat from his about halfway out down his hip, down to the bottom. Stripped. There's just bone there. And we tried to take him out of the hole, but his rear end was so soft, and he was in pain when we tried to take him out, so we didn't do it. We left him there, and he died within probably a half an hour or an hour. And yeah, it was a bad day. Good man, Heinen, and Clarence, and Gower, and Hook, and Schwank. Schwank was our company runner, and they were all good men.
I remember you talking about you and Joe in the foxhole.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned the other day that Psalm 23. You
Yeah.
must have repeated over and
I did. I just repeated that to myself over and over. And I believe that may have been what saved me. I think Joe was probably a Christian too. Joe was an interesting guy. He could write. He would sort of with a pencil. It was difficult for him to write, but he'd send a letter now and then home to a girlfriend and folks, I think. He was an old man, about 26. But he was a great guy. Then he made it through the war with me, and then we went from there to Nome, which is a little town in, I forget the name of the woods. I went, well, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I almost got shot there. I went what I thought was behind the house to relieve myself. Had my pants down and so forth, and somebody took a shot at me. I could hear the bullet snap as it went over, so it was just within 2 or 3 inches of my ear. And I got out of there in a hurry. But
thought that wasn't fair.
No, it's not fair when a guy's doing his business to shoot at him. But we had done the same thing. I've mellowed a lot about all these things because we've killed an awful lot of Germans. But they killed, I think, I'm told, 1.3 of us to our group. The Russians were the one that killed the Germans. I think 7-1 they did. But they lost 7 million men. Well, we only lost a little less than half a million. And that was in the whole war in the Pacific too. Then from Nome, when we were there, George Howell showed up. George is a good buddy of mine across the street from home. We used to live on Corman. And I grew up with George. He was a good guy.
He's not the one that they got rid of his bed?
No, that was Willie Gray.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So George Howells, what did he end up doing?
He was he was in a rifle company. Then he joined what do they call it? He went behind the lines more than...
a scout?
No, not a scout, but with a group of... I can't think what they're called, but there's the regimental guys that went out to... about 20 or 30 of them went on patrols at night behind the lines, and George found that was pretty safe because he wasn't getting artillery fire, which is what really we were more afraid of than the rifle fire. But they had awful good machine guns that would tear people up. Then from Nome, I don't know where we went. I think then we went to Bootsdorf and Tettingen, which is what we visited, honey.
Yeah.
And little town. I think both of them were. One of them was in at the edge of the Siegfried, and the other one was across the Siegfried, and we got across, and It was that was a bad. We lost a lot of people there too.
Didn't you even say, I don't know which, I think it was Bootsdorf, the town looked exactly like when you guys were there.
Oh yeah, it did.
It hadn't changed. Even the
even the
big
manure pile was the
in the
same.
middle of the town.
Yeah.
But when we looked inside that barn, there was a barber shop in there.
Oh.
There was a little store of some kind.
Oh.
And it was cleaned up in there better, but this manure pile was still there.
Oh yeah.
And you can remember a lot of that.
Yeah. And that
places
was
you hid and stuff there around.
And then I what?
That you were hiding. That you went around.
Oh
One
yeah.
place you showed us.
Oh yeah. That was that was before we went to Sins.
Okay.
There was a cemetery there, and we dug our hole and put our mortar in a hole, and then we stayed there a day or so, and then took off for Sins. Went across a big tank trap, which was about a 10 or 12 foot deep big trench that was maybe 10 feet across, 10 or 12, and full of water at the bottom. And it was cold, so when we walk on it, it would break the ice.
You were talking about Ron Vogel saying, got us over there later when we visited that area.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that the area where the 94th Memorial
is? Oh, yeah.
We just kind of happened upon it?
Yes, we did. That was...
what town was that?
That was near Sins.
That's what I thought.
Which was probably...
Because we could see the dragon teeth up the hill, and that little cemetery across the street is where you stayed.
Yeah.
Waiting to...
Well, we didn't stay.
Well, you were there, you said, for quite a while.
Yeah. Well, a day or so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we went to Nome. That was when we attacked some city. I don't know what it was called, but we took it. And, then we went up on there was a position that had already been taken, so we took their place, and they were relieved. They had lost a lot of men. Hentern was the name of the town, and there were 4 of us were told to stay in this one hole and protect this hill. Well, that's what we did, but we weren't attacked that I know of. I mean, they may have been around there. I found a German overcoat and put it on, and it was full of lice, but it was warm, and it became warm, and then we started getting not bombed, but fired on again by artillery, and so we took off of there and went down into Hentern. There we found my brother was there in the second story of the house, and one night, I don't know how many nights we were there, maybe 2 or 3, and
that's not where you had a grenade or something.
Well, yeah, they had their gun out the window, and we heard that they heard. I didn't hear them, but Dick heard Germans talking below them out the window. He heard because the window was open for the gun, and George Morris threw a grenade and got hung up on the sight. His sleeve did. And so the grenade went off in the room. And, oh my, nobody was hurt there, but my, it was exciting. And same that night later, then the Germans came in the other end of town, maybe 100, 200 yards away from where Dick was on one end, and there was another machine gun on the other end. But there was a tank trap there, a bunch of logs across the road, piled high and maybe 15 feet high. Not piled, but held up in between 4 vertical logs, and then they put the other and stack them up. The Germans had done that, and somehow the Germans got around that tank barrier, and Captain Copps was in the house right by the tank barrier, and threw a grenade, and as he heard the voices of the Germans, and blew them all up, and the grenade and the tank trap as well. Then that was a bad night too for a lot of people, but we were very lucky. I don't know where we went from there then. I think maybe we were pulled offline then, because we had been pretty well beaten up. We'd been at this now for about maybe 3 or 4 months, online all the time. And, no, we get off every 6 weeks and take a shower and get new clean uniforms. I'm missing a lot of stuff. I've forgotten a lot of it, fortunately.
I was just thinking that story you used to tell about, I think you were in France when you found you were trying to find something to eat, and you found what you thought was lard, and you were going to make fried potatoes.
No, that was later on in Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I found some potatoes in the basement, and some what I thought was lard, and was frying them up on the stove out of wood stove, and I built a fire in to cook, and turned out that was tallow, not lard, but it tasted very good.
Oh. Well,
they tasted very good, the potatoes. Let's see.
Must have been in France that you were trying to get eggs and you didn't know how to say
Oh,
eggs.
yeah, that was early on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were...
I was demonstrating finally and flapping my wings and saying eggs.
Yeah.
And the egg, I think, is, I've forgotten what the proper name of an egg is. But
you got your point across.
I finally got about about half a dozen eggs.
When you were done there, and that was in 1945, right?
Yes.
January of 45. So when was it you got to Czechoslovakia?
Oh, that was much later.
In 45, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
The war was over then.
Right.
And but then we went from there to the Ruhr up by train.
Okay. And you had an incident too. When were you driving that truck?
Oh, that was coming out of when we were coming home. Yeah.
Coming home.
Leaving, going to Lucky Strike, Camp Lucky Strike in France near Le Havre.
Oh, okay.
And, but then, where was I there? Oh, we went to the Ruhr and had a real nice foxhole already dug and covered over even with a dirt roof. And for our mortar and well, not for our mortar so much as for the men, for our two of us guys that were on this mortar post. And we took some pictures then, or we didn't. I think Fish did. Dick Fisher was another member of our mortar section, and he came out. We were about half a mile from other people. And let's see, what else? I've got a picture of that hole. Best hole I ever had.
Did you go to the Eagle's Nest or whatever
No,
that was
no.
called?
You mean Hitler's?
Hitler's place.
No.
Okay, I heard you guys talking about.
No.
Okay. You did not go there. You had was it a dress parade or something in Prague?
In Prague. Yeah.
At what point would that be?
Oh, that was in...
after this time?
Oh, much after, yeah. When war was over and we went to the I forget what this big square and marched in there, and I think most of our regiment went in there. They did in fact issue us some ammunition because this was within the Russian lines. And
but it's very limited.
Yeah, only about 6 rounds a man, which wasn't much. But any event, what is that? Oh,
there you go.
So
you had your parade.
Yeah, and there was a big 10,000 people in this soccer field, a big stadium, and I was the last guy on the field in a line, and we went all across the field, then another line, and so forth. Well, when we went off in reverse order, and doggone if I didn't start too soon, and I went off with 3 lines instead of 2, and that lasted for about 10 yards, and must have looked bad, but I didn't care.
All right.
But then after, and then when we were in the Ruhr, we were just really holding the Rhine because they were already crossed at the Remagen, and so we didn't have to cross.
Wasn't your group one of the first ones to cross?
No, to get to the Rhine.
Yeah, to get to the Rhine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then that next day, and next morning or something, the Remagen Bridge was crossed, and so they held us back a little. We went about almost 100 miles in after we went to Trier, which was the convolution of the Ruhr River and the Mosel and I think the Rhine all joined there. No, maybe not the Rhine, but the Mosel and the Ruhr. Took that town. And that's the one that Patton said. He said they told him that they need 4 divisions to take Trier. And we took it with 1. And I think there was a part of a tank, anti-tank outfit. A battalion of them were there, and Patton called, reported it, and he asked, "Do you want me to give it back?" It only took 1 division to take it because they were all drunk, the Germans, and I don't think they were expecting us. No, I know
Obviously.
They were. No.
Huh. That wasn't when Patton made that statement you didn't appreciate much.
No, that was earlier. Yeah, Patton once had called all our NCOs, our non-coms, into a big assembly. I think that was in France or somewhere near, I don't know where. But then he said, "You know, you guys, you can't take care. You don't worry. We're not going to worry about infantrymen. We can get a new infantryman here for $30, which was more than a month's pay for us. And but a tank would cost $30,000 to get here. So I'm going to protect my tanks, and to hell with the infantryman." Well, we didn't care for that much, so we called him old blood and guts. Your guts, your blood and our guts, and instead of the other way around. But then we went from, I forget the name of that town we were at. And I went around and I hooked up the electric power. I'd climb the telephone pole or the power pole.
Yeah.
And it was a metal one. They don't have many trees in Germany. They didn't then, or in that part of Germany anyway. And with a stick, I'd hook the wire, I'd put the broken wire on top of the other wire. And I did that about 4 times. And the last time, I just got the power line hooked up, and somebody across the river shot at me with a 20 millimeter cannon. And I didn't think that was quite right, but I got off of that post in a very big hurry, and it was up there 30 feet or so. But it was
so
good.
once you had power, then what were you guys able to do?
Well, then we had power in the town that we were in, and we could have light at night if we
must
wanted
have been a
it.
pretty hot line that you were
Oh
messing
yeah,
with.
it was a 220, at least 220 or probably 440 line. But I was not touching. I was using a stick to get the wires together.
Yeah.
Now,
What about what point did your little radio come in?
oh, yeah, and then we went to, we drove all the way to Czechoslovakia on 2.5-ton trucks, which were better than those big ones because they had canvas over them. We went a lot of places on those trucks, but we got there and set up headquarters and in a schoolhouse for a while. And I was Spider David, and there was David Poole was a replacement. He was very talkative and a young, good-looking guy that they call Ersta David. The Czechs did. The Czechs all spoke German because they'd been occupied for years. And
Is that when you found the liquor stash?
oh no, the liquor stash was in Dusseldorf. Yeah, that's it. I forgot all about Dusseldorf. Yeah, when the war was over, we went into the Ruhr, across the Rhine, on trucks.
And this was in what month?
In May or early June,
Okay.
after the war was over. I think May 8th was the war end of the VE Day,
Okay.
Victory in Europe. Then we went into Gerresheim, was a little suburb of Dusseldorf. And we gave the people that lived in this house, I think 15 or 20 minutes to get out of it because we were moving in. And they did. It was a very nice home. It wasn't real fancy, but it was nice. And then we went around to all the homes in the neighborhood and inspected for what do they call contraband, and people like that, and people that didn't belong there. But we didn't speak German much then. Excuse me. But we learned German. And we went in an inspection. I found this big German flag, about 12 feet by 10 feet, or 8 feet or something. It was a good sized German flag. And I put it on the steps going into the home. And we would, and they had the company kitchen in our garage. So we had access to the garbage. And the coffee maker. And the coffee maker was a big garbage can that they would put a heater in, gasoline heater, and heat it up, and then they'd pour in all about probably 20 pounds of coffee and make a bunch of coffee. And so I got to taking the coffee out when it was made, all done. I mean,
You took the coffee grounds.
Coffee grounds, yeah. Put it in the backyard. Take 2 little packets of Nescafe and put it on top and dry it. And then we'd sell that. And of course the Germans loved it because they hadn't had any real coffee for 5 years, probably 4 or 5 years.
So you're a little entrepreneur there and
Yeah,
selling coffee.
yeah. I gave some away, but
Is this the instance where you were going through? You got these people out of their house, and you went upstairs and you saw a watch.
no, that was across the street when we were inspecting their home.
Okay.
There was this old lady and her daughter, I think, and we had to inspect for weapons and contraband and so forth. And so we had them downstairs. I went upstairs and looked around, didn't find anything, and I went into her room, the old lady's room. Excuse me. And found must have been her husband's pocket watch. Lovely, nice big gold pocket watch, which was closed and you could open it and so forth. Excuse me. And I picked it up, put it in my pocket, and on the way down the stairs I thought, no, I can't take her watch. So I went back and put it back where I found it, which was probably the only really honest thing I've ever done, because I had every right to take that watch, I thought. And I did. But I didn't take it, and that was good. I've always been pleased I put that back for her. Then from there, oh yeah, we had one night, we heard all this Hilfe, 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 and we went down. There was a battalion of truck drivers and so forth down at the bottom of the hill, half a mile away or so. The colored guys, and somebody had, they say, raped a girl, and we had to get him. I didn't go on that, but on that getting him, but I don't know if they did or not, but they probably did, or shot one of them. The army at that time was all segregated. They had one division out of 110 or 12, something like that. That was black with white officers, and I think they did well, but that's because only because we were short of men then in the States. Well, and then we went from back to.
Is that where your stash was? In Dusseldorf?
Stash?
Yeah, Dick always talks about you and somebody had this big stash of somebody's liquor.
No, that was in Sonthofen. That was on the way home.
Okay.
Yeah, by then I had become sergeant, supply sergeant. And so I had to take care of getting rid of things and getting a Jeep. We had to get a Jeep. We had lost a Jeep and we needed one. Each company had 2 Jeeps and one was missing, and we got a Jeep by some guys went up to some armored division and stole one and brought it back down, and was short a tow rope on the front, so we took the one off the other first Jeep we had, and cut it in half and put half of it on one front bumper and the other half on the other, and got by with that. And also, we had about 50 1911 45 pistols that we weren't authorized to have. And there was no way to turn in stuff you didn't weren't authorized. So I got some Germans to dig a hole and bury it outside the place we were living in, Sonthofen. Beautiful place. Beautiful place. It's in the edge of Switzerland. On the way to Switzerland, I was being the supply sergeant. We loaded this truck up and so forth with all our equipment and, well, a lot of stuff, and had a whole truckload and went along with it. And about an hour or so, we were going over these hills and on a very narrow, high-crowned road. And the guy said he couldn't stay awake anymore. He'd been doing that for 3 days, and he was tired. So I was told by the driver he couldn't take it anymore, so I'd have to drive. Well, I hadn't driven anything for a year and a half or two. Well, a year and a half anyway. And
this was different gears?
Yeah, and then I didn't know how to double clutch. And oh my, it was a terrible ride. And the guy, I woke him up.
Did you have guys in the back of that truck?
No, just equipment.
Just equipment, good.
And I was following my brother, who was the battalion supply sergeant. I was the company supply sergeant, and Dick was the battalion supply sergeant. Because they had taken the supply sergeant and sent him home. He'd been in the Army longer than I had some more points. I think we needed 65 points to go home. And
so you collected all those boots and stuff too?
No, I don't know.
You were so upset that
the galoshes.
Yeah. Everybody threw them.
We threw them away before we crossed this little river, creek, but it was about 3 or 4 feet deep, and in the middle of winter. It was a bad evening. We went down the road in column of 1 on the left side of the road, and stepped and found some shoe mines across the road. Some guys lost their feet, and so we were on the left side of the road. They thought we'd be on the right, and then after a bit, they called for the engineers to come up to clear the mines. Well, we didn't stop walking, but we had TOT artillery fire on covering our advance, which was time on target, meaning that when it started, everything fired in a sequence that it would all land at about within a minute or so. It was just horrific sound. We have 155s and 105s, and oh my, it was really a bad thing. I felt sorry for the Germans. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, we had all had overshoes to galoshes to cross this creek. Well, it was, as I say, 3 or 4 feet deep, and so some of us took them off and threw them in a pile, and other guys just took them off because they'd get full of water and they would be very heavy and hard to move around in. And we crossed this town and crossed this river and went into the town. Then they built a bridge, an earthen bridge later there. That's when I was a first gunner then. No, I wasn't even first gunner then, I don't think.
Ammo bearer.
What?
Ammo
bearer, yeah. But,
Okay, so you drove that truck.
Yeah, into the edge of Switzerland. My, it was a beautiful place. It was built for German officers training, and it had about 4 basements. No electricity down there, but I went down 3 of them, and I thought, I'm not going any further because it was just too likely if somebody was hiding down there, waiting to shoot. They could hear us coming. Only 2 of us, but they could hear us.
Is that where you said it was just beautiful? There was glass?
Yeah, about
so you could look out.
2 stories of glass along the mess hall.
How did we see that, or something? I don't know if it was on television that you saw it and said, "That is that room that I was in."
Well, that was on TV, not TV, on the here. The Americans kept that.
Oh. In fact, you got up early in the morning to see.
Yeah, even to see the sunrise was so beautiful, which was amazing. I'd get up early in the morning because this was in, it was winter, so it wasn't too early, but it was earlier than I had to get up than I really was required to get up. And I had all the, in charge of the supply room then. And so I had all the officers' liquor ration, and it would all come to me, and I'd save a bottle, and every night we'd have 2 or 3 of us would have a drink. And finally, Dick came over one night to go to supper with me, and I said, "All right, you can have a drink." He was really upset. He thought, "Here, you should have told me about this."
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, you have anything else there?
Well, no, I don't think.
Was it on the way home when you were on the boat, maybe, that you had all those Hershey bars?
No, on the way over,
on
the Queen Elizabeth, I bought a whole complete,
case.
A box
of
Hershey
bars. Yeah.
Yeah. And in 5 days, I ate them all.
That's when you ended up with.
Oh, no, I didn't. That was a boy I was in Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
And I had a bunch of boils then.
Wasn't it really bad when you were on leave someplace and you had to
ride
the train with a
with a boil in my butt?
And I had your helmet or something?
Yeah. Couldn't sit on the seat.
Hmm.
That was interesting too. I was very lucky that night in Paris. I got a ticket to some theater, and I went to the theater. When I was all done, I took the subway, or the metro, they call it, and I must have taken the wrong train or the wrong line or something, because I ended up in this real totally dark area. I could hear these voices, and there's just me alone, and I don't know how I ever made it, but I didn't. I was very quiet, and I snuck out of that area and made it home to our hotel that we were at. And I saw then the first bidet I ever saw in our room. I don't know who I went with either. They had two guys in the room. I don't know who the other guy was. I don't remember. It's from our company, though, I think. Or our battalion, anyway. Yep.
Now, what about the story of the radio tube?
Oh, yeah, in Czechoslovakia. I went around. I thought I needed a radio. And I went looking for one. And I went into this guy's place, and he had a radio.
The shop, right?
Well, sort of a shop, yeah.
Okay.
And I paid $25 for it, I think, which was a whole month's pay. And I took it home and didn't work because I looked at it in there and it didn't have a tube. Tube was missing. So I went back the next day, and the guy says, well, my son isn't here anymore. He went to Prague to go to college. But he's going to send us this tube from Prague. And I went back every day for about a week or so to get this tube. Or I waited a few days and allowed the tube to get there. But every time I'd go in there, there was this police dog who would just scare the hell out of me each time when I would go in there. And it was one of these big double doors where you can open it up, a car or a wagon could go in, and then a little side door, person door. And I'd go in there, and this dog would, he was really very frightening.
Did his job.
Did his job very well. Anyway, I finally got tired of waiting for that tube. And because I don't think he ever going to get it. And I wanted my money back, and I got it, I believe, most of it. And but I was all right because I got a lot of money out of Czechoslovakia.
Did you have Mickey Mouse watches or something?
Oh, yeah. Well, the Russians were right across. We were in town, a small town. I think it was called Strunkovich or something like that. Yeah, it was, one of them was Strunkovich. And every Tuesday night, the Russians, I think they were Mongolians, would get drunk. They got a liquor ration or money or something, and would come in town shooting up the place, and not shooting at people, but just shooting it up and raising hell. We just stayed out of their way.
The Ruskies.
The Ruskies, yeah. We had been told in in Geresheim to turn all our ammunition in, and we didn't. I mean, everybody saved a dozen rounds or so in their pocket, and or the gun, because we weren't going to be disarmed completely. And let's see what else happened there. First, when we first got to Czechoslovakia, we slept in a dance hall on the floor, and it was all right because we'd been sleeping on the ground in the mud, and this was dry and okay. But then they gave us, they sent us to Strunkovich in this school, and there were beds in there even, were pretty good, and little single beds, and that's about it, I think.
When did you head home?
Came home.
Or you want to do this another time?
No.
Okay. Came home in what month?
January.
46.
46. I think 6th of January. Went to Fort Dix and got discharged there. Been overseas a year and a half. Felt very blessed. I saw this film. I forget what it's about.
Oh, yeah. 3 times.
17 times I saw it on the way back. In the hold, they put it up every.
What ship was it? It wasn't the QE.
No, it was a.
It was a bigger one.
No, a little ship.
Oh.
A little thing would go, and we had this terrible storm. One of the ships broke in half, and everybody was lost, but we were told. And it would go up and up on top the wave, and the screw would come out, and you hear this noise as this thing sped up and went crazy, then back down the hole into the depression in the water. Do that for an hour or 2 or 3 till we got through that area.
And you're trying to eat.
Oh yeah, I didn't get seasick because I tried to stay up on board on deck as much as I could, and so I would not get seasick. I'd look at the horizon, and it wasn't bad. Don't think I've ever been seasick. There were guys seasick in New York on the way out before we even untied from the dock. But
was that where your plates were going up and down
the
table?
Yeah, you just eat as the plate went by. And there weren't many people eating, though, because they were all throwing up. And it was nasty bad. The
Coke bottles?
Coke bottles running around, and the biggest problem was the vomit was everywhere.
Whoa.
And also the water in the urinals was overflowing the urinal. Big long trough about 12 feet long, and I don't know. The ship would sway or do this, and it would overflow, and there was my mess in there. Smelled like the devil, and our bunks were down in the hold, a 5 high, I think, and I was up about third, I think, fourth row, and I could sleep because I was tired.
So then you got home.
Got home.
You got to Fort Dix?
Fort Dix and got discharged. And they gave us all physicals. And they told me there, you shouldn't be in the Army. You have a heart murmur. Well, I'd had that heart murmur since I had rheumatic fever as a boy. And, I was only a boy. I was 21 then. I was still 20. And when I got discharged, only in the Army a little over 2 years, overseas a year and a half. And that was good.
Okay, so you got your physical, you got your discharge papers, and
yep.
then you got on the train?
No, then we went to visit Fisher's place, and
which was
in Lebanon, PA. Got discharged in Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
And went to Richard Fisher's
place
for.
Is his dad the one that owned the jewelry store?
Yeah,
or something?
yeah.
Okay.
And we went to visit him once, if you remember, or twice.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't remember that.
I met his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ruth,
yeah.
I think her name was. Richard.
Well, and him.
And him.
Yeah.
He had turned in sort of a drunk in the meantime. He and I held that hill by going to sleep and letting those two recruits hold the hill. But we knew they'd wake us if they saw anything or heard anything.
Okay. So you went to Dick Fisher's.
Yeah, and then went to Millersburg on the train. On the train, which was probably 50 miles, 45 miles, something like that, from Lebanon. And then Dad had come over, that's where he was born, and Mom picked us up. We were there a day or so, I think, or more maybe.
Did you have dinner at your Aunt Peg's? Is it?
Aunt Peg, Aunt Bess.
On the Liverpool side or the?
Well, on both sides we ate.
Okay.
Took the ferry across. Yep. And my dad, I says, hey, let me drive on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Man alive. That was a wild trip. I was going 80 miles an hour.
Any flat tires?
No.
Oh, good.
No flat tires, but I slowed down then. Dad drove. Yeah. And Dick was there too.
You both got discharged at the same time.
Same time,
okay.
Same day. Yep. Still have my discharge. Upstairs it is, and I got a little one in my pocket.
You have to keep those, don't you?
No. Yeah, it's best if you do because then you get $255 burial.
Oh.
And it's got a record of your a number of your rewards. Of your medals and things.
Yeah.
We had gotten the infantry badge in McCain. And the States. And then we got the combat infantry badge, which gave us $5 a month more, which was pretty good. I mean, that was big money in those days.
And you were sending it home?
Most of it, yeah. That and buying insurance, $6.40 for a $10,000 policy.
A month?
A month. Yep.
Okay, your rain.
Maybe.
Wow.
Yep, good rain. I hear my stomach too.
Okay. What was the most memorable thing with all your army? What'd you learn most out of all this?
I don't know what I learned most. I know the most memorable thing was that day everybody got killed, or a lot of guys got killed.
You were telling me too, when we went back to see all that, we kind of followed where you went with Victor Davis. And we had run across that 94th with Ron Vogelsang on another trip.
Yeah.
And that was the only
American monument on German soil.
Yes.
At the time.
And they did everything.
Well, no, we did it first. I mean, our division did. And then they put a new road in there, or widened the road or something, and had to move it. So they re-erected it and so forth, and made it very nice.
Yeah. And then we went up to the Ham Cemetery.
The Ham Cemetery in
Luxembourg,
and found all those guys from my squad.
That's where Patton's buried, and Papa Hines is up there, and
Papa Gower, and
Clarence Richards.
And
we found them all buried
right in a way.
Same.
Yeah. Because they were all killed the same day.
And you were always surprised that they weren't brought home.
Yeah, because they were all but Clarence, I think, were married, and Swank wasn't married.
But very beautiful cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they did move Patton's grave because they had put him in the same order of the other guys, which was by date, but everybody was going to see his grave, and so they put it up at the head of the cemetery. But they had all those, our map that we went on, where we went.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learned about where you were going
after
that trip, after you had done it.
Yeah.
And Victor said, "Well, didn't you know this?" And you said, "No, I only knew what they told me and You didn't know anything that was going on around.
No,
You just
about
heard a
100
little
yards.
group. Yeah,
100 yards.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting.
Victor asked me if I didn't know.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then it made sense. You wouldn't.
No.
How would you know? Just do what you're told.
Yep.
But we went to a lot of those places that you were, and then we went back to Normandy.
Yeah.
And Utah Beach.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, we were at Utah Beach.
Utah. Yeah.
And Pegasus Bridge and all that.
Yeah, and we saw a glider,
Yeah.
2 gliders.
Yeah. And how nice the people were to
Oh,
you.
along Normandy.
Oh my. They couldn't have been any nicer. I mean, France I never liked because the people are so nasty and rude.
Yeah.
But down in Normandy, they couldn't have been any nicer. They would do everything. In fact, their cemeteries, all the cemeteries are kept so nice.
Yeah.
But the children decorate the cemetery
and take care of it.
And it's a beautiful job.
Yeah.
And they keep flowers on the graves, and it's beautiful.
Well, I don't know how many flowers they keep.
Well, a lot of them they do.
Well,
There's
yeah.
a special time of year.
Oh, yeah.
They
they will then.
put them for everybody.
Yep.
But they're just so thankful for all that. So.
And that's bad because they got bombed badly.
Yeah. And I think that's when you guys were finding out, because you guys never got winter coats or anything for that winter at all, and found out they all were in, was it Paris, wherever your supplies came in, and they were keeping them for themselves.
Yeah, and then they'd send them on to the next place. The next place would take what they wanted, and maybe,
It never got up to the guys on the line. Yeah.
So guys were stealing the sheets from the beds of the Frenchmen and making white uniforms out of them.
With the snow.
Not uniforms, but a covering.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they wouldn't stand out so.
Because the snow, that was one of the worst winters.
Yeah.
Yeah, coldest and
30 below.
Snow and windy and it's amazing you guys made it through there with just those conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, trench foot was very common. I think we had 15% casualties from trench foot. The infantry would.
Wow.
Now, there are 15,000 men in an infantry division. And I think about 4,500 are infantrymen, the rest are supply and
how many are in the infantry part?
About 4,500.
Okay. And those, what do you call them, paddlefoot?
No, what do we call ourselves? Dog faces. Dog faces.
Okay.
And some kind of feet. Can't remember it now.
Okay.
That's been 100 years ago, eh? Almost.
Yeah, but not too many did what you guys did.
No.
You needed people doing every different job.
Yeah. And we couldn't have gotten along without it, but
no,
without them, but we didn't appreciate them at the time like we do now.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this picture of you and Dick in your uniforms with Obie in the middle.
Yeah.
What was this occasion? Because you're in your dress uniform.
Well, that was, I don't know. We were home on furlough, I think.
Really? Because he wouldn't have been around, would he?
No, he was at Denison.
Yeah. All right. Should we end this one?
Yeah.
All right. Signing off here.
Signing